everyone. We are back. Are we not? It is magical coffee hour time, people, and it looks like we got a great turnout here this evening, which is exactly what we were hoping for. And it says even more people's jumping in, so that's freaking awesome. All right, people, welcome back. We are bringing back magical coffee hour. Okay, hands down, over the years, this has been my absolute favorite way to connect with the community, answer questions, and get things done. And sadly, YouTube live streams just still don't work, and we've yet to ever get an answer for that. So I want to thank everybody for joining us, and we will be continuing these, and we will do them right here in the Working Dragon Mystic community. If you are watching the replay of this on YouTube or Rumble, you should be able to find some links below to join the Working Dragon Mystic community, where you can watch and join us live and join in the live chat, the questions, the comments, the fun. All you need to do, like I said, it's free to join the community. You can do it from a phone, you can do it from a computer. And if you do it on your phone, the moment you open up the community, which we're on Mighty Network, so you'll need the Mighty app. But yeah, here's literally my phone. You can actually see that it automatically shows the live stream on there once you open it. So you can do everything from your phone, listen in, and join the fun. We're doing everything to make it easier for everyone and get more connected with everything. So, and if you want to, you can even become a supporter. Or supporters get a lot of extra perks, free workshops. They get a Zoom call with me where they can ask anything every Friday, as well as custom spell working and much, much more. All right, let's get into this, folks. Hopefully everybody's doing great. Hopefully everybody has brought a beverage. So pull up a chair, grab whatever beverage you're drinking. Because I couldn't help it, right? I actually went into the kitchen. I had some different coffees, and I grabbed my old Iron Bean Skulls of My Enemies, right? That's a coffee hour classic. So I figured with us coming back, let's go with the coffee hour classic and one of the favorites of this household. So let's get into this. All right, folks. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend. We are doing this on a Monday as opposed to a Sunday. So hopefully everybody did actually have a fantastic weekend and is getting ready for a great week. I know I've had a busy day here, and I'm actually, I do have a plan for a pretty busy week, but I'm looking forward to it. I got a lot of different ritual work to do, a lot of other things. I got to do some shopping, some maintenance around the house. Yeah, it's going to be a busy week, but I think it's going to be a good week on that. So let's just jump right into here. What questions do you all have here? And also, what's your beverage of choice tonight? What's your beverage of choice if you got it? Let's see. Matthias is drinking double empowerment power coffee. Oh, Nathan is drinking black tea. Hey, that's a good one. I actually thought about grabbing some Izon tea tonight, but it's coffee hour. I had to get coffee. That's just the way it is. Also, this is really good. Let's see. Jackie is drinking sleepy time tea. Well, yep, Jackie. Okay, yeah, you're right. It's getting late, so that makes sense. Water's good. Nothing wrong with water. Actually, I do have water set aside for when I run out of coffee. So no problems there. Death Wish latte. That actually sounds pretty good. Not gonna lie. Mine's mostly a definition blend. There you go. I actually do recommend you try Iron Beans Fierce if you like Death Wish. I think you'll freaking love it. I don't get paid by them. I wish I did, but that's actually, I love it. Weirdly, like Death Wish got to the point when I'd buy the bags, like the flavor was off. It tasted really, really acidic instead of that wonderful flavor I'd come to know from Death Wish. However, a friend of mine recently gifted me a box of the Death Wish pods, right? And the pods still taste good. And I don't know if this box is a fluke. Is it just a good box? Or, so I'm actually half tempted to try and get a second box of the pods after this one runs out and see if that carries. Because unfortunately, I don't know what it was. Like, it was a good 6 bags, just taste like crap. Like Folgers tasted better than those bags, and that's actually why we stopped drinking Deathwish. um, but I'm really, really happy that the pods are tasting good. But yeah, so that's just. I mean, if you like, I'm not making fun of your coffee. I'm not, dissing the coffee. Taste is obviously subjective there a little bit, but it's just what I ran into. And I don't know if you all are drinking pods. I don't know if you guys have noticed that the pods apparently, maybe it's a freshness. The pods stay fresher longer because of the way there's, I don't know. I ain't got no rhyme or reason for it. It's one of those things. See, nothing wrong with getting late. Nothing wrong with getting late. All right, folks. So, if you, like I said, if you got any questions for me, drop them. I'll be happy to answer them to the best of my ability, if I can. It is spring, people. And I think it's actually starting to get spring in most places. I actually have friends out in the Pacific Northwest. They even said they actually finally peaked into the 60s out there. As someone from the South, yeah, it should have been way past 60 by now. But hey, y'all, I know. Um, Hopefully everyone is enjoying the spring and enjoying the warm up and the ability to get outside, have some fun, maybe light the grill, have a barbecue. I know me, I'm actually looking forward to having a bit of free time in the upcoming little bit here and actually running the smokers. So I did not run the smoker this winter. I don't know why. I usually don't shut the smoker down, but this winter I did not get a chance to run it. Scuba Bass, we'll be having a spring dragon workshop. Noticed we didn't have one. So the supporter section, spring dragon workshop. No, to be honest with you, spring jumped in up and spring equinox came and went before I knew what it was. I had so much going on at home, family, work. Like I've been going 12 different directions at once. And if we were going to do that workshop, we'd have had to do it before the spring equinox and I just missed it. Now, that being said, there is a video on the Spring Equinox Dragon Vorgashun on the YouTube channel that you can still watch. As far as that goes, do remember, like to work with these dragons, you have to work within the window of the spring equinox to the summer solstice. And they don't have a sigil. The sigil is the season. You have to fully embody the season. You have to embody the totality of spring to summon them and work with them. But I do apologize because I would have liked to do that. Again, things have been crazy. Life happens, and it is definitely something I want to do. We also have been doing the custom pathworking workshop as well as that's been mixed in with the 5 rings Dokudo workshop that everybody in the supporter area has been absolutely loving. We've been getting some amazing feedback from that. So that is pretty great. And there you go. Nathan actually shared the link to the actual video. So there we go. Appreciate that, Nathan. Thank you very much. We are looking at doing some workshops actually in the general area, not just in the supporter area. I'm trying to iron out a few things there, as well as we're getting ready for the next big workshop up in the supporter area as well. And for those in the supporter area, the one-on-one classes, those are closed. All the spots were filled. If more spots come open, supporters, you guys will again get first pick at those. Okay, so there, hopefully we can get those open. It's going to depend. I don't know. Like I can't create more spots. I need to have them open up naturally and organically. So yeah, there we go. One of the things I am looking to do in the general areas, we are wanting to do a magical basics actual workshop. Actually be able to record it and even post replays for it in the general section. We're looking at actually, Jackie, it's cool you're here. We're actually looking at Jackie's ideal of literally the magical basics, what you need to get started, kind of a magical one-on-one. And we're going to be calling it the Mage's Path or something like that. It will be live, it will be recorded, but at the same time, it will be posted as a replay. and we're hoping to do a few more of these in the future as we go. Um, this will probably be on a Wednesday, most likely. As to the time, we're still a little iffy. Like my Wednesday afternoons are pretty booked, so I might have to do these closer to noonish or 3ish. So we'll see. Um, let's see. Alex, good to see you. Yep. We do have a lot of people in here. Scoob, hello. Who have I not said hello to? Seems like there's somebody else in here I haven't said hello to. I think I said Immortal hello. There you are. I think we've said hello. It says I got 10 people in here. I'm missing somebody. I know I ain't said hello to everybody. Let's see. That's all right. If y'all are here, welcome. Actually, what I'm planning to do with these replay, that's a great question, Jackie. How long will the replay recordings be up? I'm actually hoping to have that set up and leave it up. Now, when it does come back to teach live, if the next live has significant improvements over the old recordings, I would just replace that section, for example. Because sometimes, I find better ways to teach and, put the better one up there kind of thing. There's actually, and this is kind of crazy, and the admin are poking the bear on this one, but it's an interesting thought. There has been some discussion of potentially doing a Dragon Magic 101 live in the general area. So I don't know if that one's going to happen because that is a massive course. That's a whole massive undertaking. That would be a whole shabacle. Supporters do have access to the pre-recorded class, that kind of thing. So we'll have to see about that. That being said, if there are topics you guys would like workshops in the general area, by all means, let me know. I will see what I can do. Right now in Bottle and Scroll, if you guys go down there and look, there's a kinetic magic class right now that's actually being taught by Nathan. I've actually been popping in and watching the material, and I'm loving it. I've actually been taking notes, and I got a few experiments that I want to run myself, and I'll probably bounce some of those off you, Nathan, as we get further into that, and I get some results. So, yeah, that is great. If you haven't, check it out. Kinesthetic Magic, or Kinetic Magic. I don't know if I'm saying it right. It focuses heavily on hand motions and movements and body posture. So if you are here in the community, I would highly recommend checking that out. He is putting a lot of work in there. He's finding it how much work it can be to make a video, but he's doing a great job, and thank you for it, mate. Mugs up. Hopefully we'll be seeing a few more of those in the Bottle and Scrolls section as well. No question. Well, no more questions yet. I don't think. It's always nice to be here and hang around. Hey, Scripps, it's great to see you. Yeah, definitely hang around more. Definitely. Now that coffee hour is back, you'll have plenty to listen in on. Aylin, good to see you as well. Uh, Nathan, so what is your favorite magical woodland creature or entity that you like communicating with during the springtime? Hmm. That's a tricky one. Because obviously, like, I could totally cheese this and say Terrafauna or Verkashun. I really could. Because in a lot of ways, Terrafauna does kind of lean into that kind of a little bit there. But that's you said woodland creature, and that I get what you're going with there. It's interesting because if I'm being honest, like my favorite communication to do during spring, it isn't necessarily a singular creature, right? And this is actually something I do want to do a workshop on very, very soon in the community. I love to sit down and communicate with the wildlife, straight up wildlife. I do this at my home. I will take time to go outside and do some meditation and trance in the daytime as well as in the evening, because you have nocturnal and um, daytime creatures. You need to communicate when they are active. But I also do this when I go camping, right? When I set up my campsite and everything, I make sure to also commune with the animals that are in the area. Let them know I'm here, let them know why I'm there, communicate with them, talk to them. And every time I do, I see a massive, massive, massive change in their behavior. Um, where they may start off a little spooked, wondering why I'm there, they become far more active, friendly, helpful in many cases. Um, and I mean, even in areas like y'all know I'm from the Appalachia, right? So I don't, since I've been doing this, I've had no issues with coyotes, bears, or mountain lions, or any of that crap. Um, I have had bears wander in. I have absolutely had bears wander in where I thought I was going to have me a problem. Um, and some coyotes. So far, a mountain lion's not wandered in, so I haven't got to test it on the mountain lion per se. But I'd rather not. Just keep your distance, boys. But the bear did wander in, and like it didn't get in the food supplies. It didn't try to tear anything up. It just wandered in. It nuzzled around, wandered right back out. Um, and grant you, could have been a fluke, could have not been a fluke, but it's one of the things that I've absolutely enjoyed. Now, with that, I also enjoy doing that even with the plant life, and understanding how the plant life is growing and those kinds of things. It's really been helpful to me, up to and including there's been a time or two where, you know, I've actually used it to try and figure out where the trees are going to drop the most pollen so I don't park under it. Um, and anyone who's ever been in the South during pollen season, don't matter what color your car is, you go out in the morning, it's yellow. You know what I'm talking about. So I have tried to tinker with that a bit. Of course, wind does take a bit of the control away from the tree, obviously. So, there is that. But that is a workshop I'm wanting to do with the community in the near future. Because it's something I absolutely adore, especially when I go camping. But it's something I do regularly here. My wife is really, really big on communicating with animals. Many in the community have heard of her squirrel army. In the last duty station we had, those squirrels would literally wait on her to come home. They would watch for her car. They would follow her car. Um, they would even keep other less than appreciative creatures out of our yard. It was a lot of fun. My wife is really good with animals. Um, yeah, kind of a workshop on communicating with local flora and fauna. That, and I don't mean it to sound like a cop out, because instead of a creature, it's like I love taking the time to commune with the animals. Like I don't view that as a cop out, because genuinely that is my favorite one to do. Like hands down, don't tell Terrafana, but I have more fun with that than I do working with her during the spring. I really absolutely do. Um, Jackie, did I say Squirrel Army? Yes, I did. I said Squirrel Army. So my wife, she gets this from her dad, hands down. Like he will do the same thing, but she will feed wild animals. She will get out. She will talk to wild animals. She will feed them. She doesn't try to capture them. She doesn't try to pet them. She doesn't try to tame them. She befriends them and lets them stay wild. And every time she does this, she ends up with animals that will literally wait on her to come home. They will walk, they learn what her vehicle is. They watch her go to work. They watch her come home. They will follow her up and down the road. They will just hang out on the porch. She can walk up. They will not freak out on her. They will occasionally bring her little gifts, and they will also keep other animals that would be problematic away. So this is something she's done in a lot of different locations. Right now, where we're currently at, they won't let her feed the squirrels. So she's been focusing more on the birds. And well, we have quite a few birds around here that definitely keep an eye out on the house. So she has a natural talent for that. And her dad's the same way, right? Her dad is always constantly taking care of squirrels and birds, I think right now he has an entire flock of something like 12 or 16 wild turkeys living on his property, as well as several groupings of deer. And he don't allow hunting either. So for the hunters in the area, they get a little pissy because he don't allow hunting. These are his friends. He takes care of them. He looks forward to meeting them and those kinds of things. So yeah, like she definitely absolutely gets it from him. And I fully expect when we retire, she's going to have coyotes, raccoons, and squirrels all over the place. And I'm okay with it. I'm totally down with it. Um, let's see where we are. Why was the Woodland Questions creature make me think what kind of Disney princess is Drake? Oh Lord, I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know. Closest I think I'd come to is Shrek, just straight up Shrek, right, big old ogre. Uh, let's see. It's a military housing thing, is why they won't let her feed them here. She needs. Oh, she like we definitely get crows and ravens. Though I think the crows and ravens usually tend to befriend me more than her. I absolutely always love having crows and ravens. Even now, we got several crows and ravens around here. Um, Actually, when we was out in Washington State, I had three crows. No, one crow and two ravens. And like, if I'm outside, they'd come over, they'd land, they would actually stand on the patio table, and they would just stand there. And if I gave them a bit of food, like they wouldn't fight over it or anything. Each one of them would grab their piece, and that was it. They would occasionally bring little shiny things and drop them on the table. It was a lot of fun. Um, and when we were in Virginia Beach, we had a lot of crows and ravens just hanging around the house. Thankfully, them and the squirrels did not argue. But one of the key things there is like you got to let them remain wild. You can't treat them like pets, right? That is one of the key things there. Yeah, yeah. Seffi is definitely the Disney princess. Although I think it was Born Oldest sent me a clip. I hadn't seen it. Apparently, it's one of the Shrek movies where they show Snow White. She gets all the little wildlife together and draws them together, and then the Immigrant Song by Metallica, I think it is, starts playing. And the animals attack the security guards and stuff, and just like rah! That's absolutely Seffi's version of a Disney princess. Um, that maybe give her a couple machine guns. um, Are there any magical metaphysical associations and correspondence of coffee, tea, and Absolutely, and lots of them. Coffee. I actually got a video if you check it out on coffee. But a quick rundown here is, coffee is earth related, so it can definitely tie into prosperity. It can tie into grounding, balance, vitality, um, stabilizing fortitude. Um, Anything to do with physical health, you can use it for those, which is one of the reasons I like to use it for so many things. Coffee is amazing. Now, tea also has a lot of those similar things, um, though most people think in many of them it's to a lighter extent, though the tea tends to lean into some of the more calming aspects of the earth element, which is kind of nice. And it does make sense. Like tea does have that calming de-stressor, but it still ties into that whole healing and vitality side. A lot of colleagues have actually kind of weighed the pros and cons in coffee tea and working with that earth energy through it and which one might do what. Some people say coffee, like if you're trying like bodybuilding, weightlifting, physical activity to build up yourself up physically, they tend to lean toward coffee for those kinds of magics. Where it's more like health, healing, whether it's from sickness, stress, or whatever you're trying to heal from, um, they lean toward tea for those things. I think that's an interesting way to look at it, really. And there are even people who associate tea with air because it is a leaf. You have a lot of air constantly blowing through the leaves in the plant, right? So you also get some tie-in with the mind, mental calm, intellect, learning, study, those kinds of things. So absolutely. Let's see, Matthias. Unfortunately, my layout makes it hard for me to meet the crows at home. Um, I mean, where we're at both times that like right now and Virginia Beach, we were literally in a place just surrounded by people. We weren't out in the woods like we're used to being. Um, like I could throw a rock and hit six neighbors' houses from my driveway, easy. And I don't have a very good throwing arm. If I had a good throwing arm, that number would go up. So it's we live in crowded areas, and the animals are still here. It's just a matter of you got to work with them and speak with them. Um, I mean, she even did it when we lived in Louisville, right? The city of Louisville. Way, way, way back in the day, I had hair, black goatee, younger, leaner. Um, way back then. Also didn't have no money. Poor as a joke. But she's still done it there. Even in the middle of the city, she was able to feed the animals, work with the animals, talk with the animals, befriend the animals. Grant you, we didn't have as many of them because it was a city, but it was still doable. So just something to consider there. Well, they didn't argue because everyone was on the same team, right? Everybody was, the crows and the squirrels, everybody was friends there. And they understood that, to be welcome at the house, to be welcome at the property, they had to behave. Um, at some point, I'm actually going to have to watch the movie because all I've seen is that clip that Bornolda sent me. But that's the way that goes. Oh, that's good coffee. See, Scripps, I had a coworker who tried to feed and befriend crows with cat food, not knowing he was feeding grackles. Hmm. See, Matthias made friends with crow once at a past job. I miss that bird. Oh, you do end up missing them so freaking much, don't you? It is hard to say goodbye to them. But they wild animals. They got to be free. They got to do the bird thing, and you got to do your human thing. It's doable. I mean, you got to work with the environment, right? You absolutely have to work with the environment. And, different animal, and you got to understand that different animals have different personalities. And even within the category, like squirrels have very different personalities than ravens. Ravens and crows have different personalities. But even inside the category, you're going to find that each raven or each squirrel has its own little natural personalities that make it who it is, just like we do. It's kind of weird. Like when you start paying attention to animals and you realize how much individual personality they have, even within a large group of animals that already has, certain traits and personalities that you would expect from it, right? Um, yeah, so actually that's actually a cool thing. Like I've been thinking of doing a workshop series on totem animals and spirit animals. And I think that would be a lot of fun. And if I could yank Jade's chain, we might even be able to get her to do some challenge coins of the totem animals so that if we cover your totem animal and you want, you could actually get a coin of the totem animal to put on your altar or anything. I think that'd be great. I know I want some. Because think how easy that'd be. Like we could. Here's what I'm thinking. I might be crazy, and y'all can tell me I'm crazy. I don't mind y'all telling me I'm crazy. But I was thinking this ain't one. Obviously, this is just a coin I got laying here. But it's actually my stoicism coin. But I was thinking on one side we could put like the animal's face, like let's say a wolf or a raven. You could put the picture, right? And then on the back side, like what, 4 to 6 of the most common associations. And then you could carry that with you in your pocket, or it's nice and easy to put on your workspace or altar, whatever it may be, I don't know. So there's some debate on exactly what that means and different things, but usually a totem or spirit animal is an animal. Totem animals are usually an animal you work with in order to learn about it, learn its traits, learn its lessons, and bring those lessons into your life, right? Now, some people think you have set totem animals. Some people think totem animals can change as you change through life. And in my experience, most individuals who talk about totem animals, especially from the Native American tribes that I've worked with, they do believe that your totem can change through life because you change as a person, right? Now, that doesn't mean if it changes, if the totem that most represents you today, that you suddenly lose the totem that represents you yesterday or last year, or whatever it was, but the dominant aspect in your life would change. At the same time, if you know you're weak in certain areas, you could work with certain animals or certain totem animals to boost and lift up those weaknesses, right? And then you have what most people would refer to as spirit animals. Those are animals that you don't get to necessarily pick. They represent you. When you work with them, they tend to turn up and they represent you, for better or worse. And they can actually represent your bad traits as well as your good traits. And these aren't just something like if you're born with a spirit wolf, you're always a spirit wolf. Not necessarily. Like if you growing and you take paths that take you far away from what a wolf would be or represent in any context, your spirit animal would change. That's not something you get to pick, right? And that sometimes sets people off, right? Because I know people who have arachnophobia that end up with spiders. I know people who end up with like vultures, for example. And vultures are not usually considered a cool animal. Everybody, wants wolves and ravens and, bears and all these that are usually, cool, but you don't always get the cool one. Like I know someone ended up with a freaking dolphin. Some people end up with just like normal fish, insects, bugs, penguins, right? Penguin can absolutely be a totem animal. It's not one we hear about, but it is. So, and it's something else I would say that it's not something where someone else can tell you. Look, there's a lot of people who will try to do a ritual and charge you any certain amount of money for telling you what your spirit animal might be. Um, I generally say 90% of the time that's hogwash because that's something that's something you need to do for yourself. That's something you need to sit down, meditate on yourself, and that would actually be a great workshop actually. So you guys can sit down and do it and don't have to pay nobody. Um, so before anybody message me asking if there's a spell or ritual I can do to tell you your spirit animal, the answer is going to be no. It's something you need to do for yourself. Much like shadow work, I can't do your shadow work for you, right? Um, so that one's a little different. That's why some people separate totems and spirits, even though in large you'll notice certain qualities of it, they overlap. But then one of them changes with you as who you are, regardless of what you do, and you can't pick it. It just naturally is what it is. And the other one you can pick, choose, and work with as you see fit. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Um, I gotta get you back used to answering all these questions quickly on live. That's good coffee. Let's see. I don't know if I actually saw that. What is one animal I'd like to befriend? You know what? I'm actually glad your friends came in and you asked that question again because I did not see the original question. Um, hmm. It's going to sound crazy, but when I get back to the Appalachia, there are actually two animals that I really have very high on my list to befriend, have around the property on a regular basis. One of them I believe is very doable. The other one, it's really going to be locationally dependent. And yeah, honestly, one of them, the location dependent, rare, possible, very anorexically thin likelihood of being able to find one to do with, would be mountain lion. I love mountain lions. They're amazing animals, and if you can get one to, if you can befriend one to patrol the property, it's pretty freaking cool. Um, but I would trade the mountain lion for a bear, and there's plenty of bear in the area that I plan to live in. Mountain lions are there too, just not as plentiful. So, however, the one that I'm absolutely certain I'll have no issues finding whatsoever, and I plan to befriend several of them, if at all possible, a good old Appalachian raccoon. They are mischievous. They are smart as a tack. Um, they are very, very protective of territory, so they would make the absolute little best border and property guards, in all honesty. I have seen raccoons, I've had raccoons literally protect other animals on farms and stuff and protect camps when I was camping. So yes, they can be mischievous. Yes, they can cause troubles. And no, just befriending them doesn't erase the fact that they're mischievous. It doesn't erase it. Raccoons are going to raccoon, right? You got to understand that. But I would absolutely love to have a good 3 or 4 raccoons minimum befriended on the property. Um, let's see. See, I'd love to do more totem work, but I believe my primary one has shown up in dreams throughout my life. It is possible, though. Do remember, as you change through your life, that primary one can still shift. Um, and it's funny because everybody's like, "I bet your spirit animal's a dragon." Wrongo, it isn't. Uh, everybody immediately jumps. You like dragons? You study dragon magic. It has to be a dragon. Wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. As to what it is, we'll leave that little question in the air for the workshop. Um, Vultures are really cool animals. Like they don't fall under the cool animals, like in all the marketing hype. But honestly, when you really study and research vultures, they're really freaking cool. Right? Guard bear. Also wouldn't mind coyotes. Like coyotes make great guard dogs. They really do. But then again, just like wild dogs in general can be pretty handy to befriend and have around the house. What about the big kitten with lots of legs? That's the danger cat. The good old Wampus cat. The Wampus cat. Well, first off, you're dealing with a cryptid that we, by and large, all myths and legends would point to. It's not an animal, it's something more spiritual. And it could be a very bad idea to approach it like an animal. Um, Now, if somehow in some way I ever pulled that off, yeah, absolutely, freaking absolutely. But considering their rarity and their massive differentials, it's that's going to be beyond anorexic thin. Okay, at that point you're a skeleton. You're not even anorexic. You're just a skeleton at that point. Um, and personally speaking, I just hope I don't have a wampus cat around the house. See, have you ever had a familiar, and is it true that when you make an animal a familiar, their lifespan decreases? And is it true benefit to having one? So, is there a benefit to having one? There's no real magical benefit that can actually be underlined and shown statistically is here you go, you have a benefit. Um, and one of the things is like if you watch, oh, it's actually kind of cool you brought this up because I think it's like episode 1 or 2 back to like the original Magical Coffee Hours with Linda. If you check the playlist, she asked a lot about familiars on that one. Um, True familiars aren't necessarily made. Um, there are processes that are very harmful to the animal to create kind of a pseudo familiar. Um, I do not do those. I do not recommend those. I actually find them quite repulsive because you basically, in that ritual, you have to take a spirit of some kind and put it into the animal, which also ejects the animal, essentially killing the animal itself while possessing it by the spirit. In that particular case, no, I'm not a big fan. Now, there are cases where you can have an animal, you can bond with an animal, not just on friendship level, but on an etheric level, where you can reach an understanding and almost communion with the animal. That type of familiar, yes, I have had one. Um, I don't often spend that much time, like, we usually don't have a lot of pets, right? But I've had a couple in my life. So my wife ended up getting 2 cats right after we got married. And we had those cats forever. The first one she got, Shadow, hands down her familiar. And if you saw those two interact, you could see it. Absolutely see it. The second one, my wife sweared up and down, she counted that as my familiar. And that cat's name was Sassy. And as weird as it is, I can't argue that because me and that cat had such a weird relationship. And that cat didn't listen to no one. And that's not to say it listened to me, but you could tell that cat understood me and understood what I was saying. And when it actually mattered, the cat did listen, right? And that cat, like it would come over. I was one of the few people it would lay next to on the couch. It would lay on a very specific spot. I knew when the cat wanted to be petted, when it didn't want to be petted. Like we had our space. Neither of us were really people, as it were. Um, and anytime I was not feeling well, I was ill or something, that cat would not leave my side. It really would not. So yeah, in that case, yes, that would probably be the most recent one I've had, and we lost both of them several years back. My first familiar, however, I can't go into details on, but it would have been a Rottweiler that I didn't even own. And how me and that dog, like this was before my occult career, but at the same time, me and that dog bonded at a level like I knew what that dog was thinking. And no training, the dog never had any obedience training at all, even from its owner. Like they would turn that thing loose out of the barn, it would come tearing across the yard and charging right at me, and it would stop and it would literally wait for me to take my coat off before it would jump on me. Um, so yeah, I've had them. Is there a specific benefit? Companionship at best. Um, you having that bond with it, but as like magical benefit, I've never actually been able to confirm um, with myself or amongst colleagues any actual definitive magical benefit that makes it worth the effort to seek one out, if that makes sense. Let's see. Yep. Herd pigs or wild pigs can be good guard animals, but they also create a lot of other problems. And um, probably not an animal I'd want around my property. I'll be honest with you, probably not. I like pigs, usually in the form of bacon or pulled pork or pork chops, uh, honey baked ham. So, um, yeah, that would be the general purpose on those. Later, Scoop. Later, later, later. What time is it actually? I usually start a timer for this thing. Okay, we got 15 minutes left, people. 15 minutes. Any other questions? I'll make a note of the totem course and the communicating with flora and fauna workshops for the community, since everybody seems to have a um, itching for those. I don't know if they'll be in which ones will be in general and which one will be in the support area. Part of me thinks I want both of those in the general area. Part of me. Let's see, Immortal. Who's the best starter entity for prediction? Stupid answer is going to be yourself. But it's also the truest answer. You're the best entity to start working with for your own protection. And beyond that, you do run into a bit of a bump because it depends on the person, right? Um, in a lot of cases, most people this day and age really working with some form of angel or even like Jesus or Yahweh is the easiest because they're the most easily approachable culturally, and that most people are comfortable with, especially here in the US, right? However, obviously that's not the case for everyone. So you got to look at it outside of that. Now, if you naturally have an apprehension of entities that are classically labeled demons, those kinds of spirits, it's not going to be as easy to work with them, even if protection's their stick, because you're already approaching them with some form of apprehension. So until you get comfortable, they literally don't fall into the easiest to work with category. Um, and a lot of people might say dragons, but then like you have this mentality in the world where people don't feel worthy enough to reach out and work with dragons. And they try to put dragons up on this pedestal. Even if they don't put them on like a divinity's pedestal, they still got them up on this pedestal. And that own mental block will automatically put a barrier there that's going to make them more difficult to work with. Um, so it really does depend on the person. In a lot of ways, the classical pantheons, finding an entity within a classical pantheon that you like, enjoy, and are comfortable with, usually tends to be the easier one because you're comfortable with it, right? It's classical, it's easy. Classical pantheon entities are usually easy to contact, easy to work with, even if it's just sitting down and saying a prayer to them. You should not laugh at the power of a prayer, even outside of religion. You really should not laugh at it. It is quite potent. And then there's the concept of nature itself, right? Um, we were talking about totem spirits earlier. Many totem spirits can actually be worked with for protection magic. Absolutely. I work with my totems in for protection a lot, especially when traveling. Um, so those would actually be great concepts to reach out to for protection. The big one is, and if you look at the 28 laws of magic, it comes down to knowing yourself. Where are you comfortable working? What is your base of knowledge? What is your base level? Because if you've never done any kind of entity work and you're not comfortable with entity work yet, you're going to panic just by, oh God, what if I screw up? Your best protection entity is going to be yourself, at which point sigil magic, candle magic, or something like that would definitely be the place to start with your protection workings, right? Um, but even then, like some people, even though it is technically entity work, they're more comfortable working with plants and nature, right? So you could look into like coffee and tea. We mentioned those earlier in the discussion, right? Both of them have protection properties. You could actually speak with an entity that is tied to, because plants have a natural spiritual consciousness about them. Um, and you can speak with a plant, just like we talked about earlier, right? So you could absolutely speak with those. And yeah, elemental spirits. Nathan here mentioned elemental spirits. Elemental spirits are also great for working with, as long as you're comfortable with them. Me personally, I've always enjoyed the elements, but I love being out in nature, right? Like fire, water. I love it, right? One of the reasons I absolutely love wearing a coat most of the time, even a trench coat, is because the way it catches air. I love the way it catches air. I love to be able to feel the air really catch and pull. Um, it's just one of those things. It's so invigorating to truly be able to feel that, right? And I know it sounds stupid. It's like you freaking wear it in order. Yeah, I actually do. Um, so those are definitely entities that you can look at. Um, and if you're looking at like the classical elementals, like they debate on what they're called. Like obviously sylphs, salamanders, gnomes, and undines are usually the small elemental spirits that some people will associate. And then those are also, well, minus salamanders. Practically all of those are also have some crossover with the Fae. So some people aren't comfortable with them because am I contacting an elemental spirit or am I contacting a freaking Fae and inviting a chaotic shit show in my house, right? And I get that. I get that. That's and I'll admit early in my practice I stayed away from sylphs, gnomes, and undines because of the possible Fae association. I just worked with more um generic elemental style spirits. So it's not an easy question, Immortal. And I know that was a shotgun after shotgun load of data and information to consider when working at it. But that is honestly my real truthful thoughts on it, mate. Um, what are some other plant benefits I've had with plant communication? Um, One of the coolest ones, and if my brother's watching this, which unlikely, but if he sees this, he's going to spit coffee across the room and cuss at the computer. So, my brother used to get me to help him track his deers quite a bit. And there's a lot of times where he never could figure out how I was tracking these deer because technically speaking, it was too dark to be tracking. And what I was actually doing was I was talking to the plants. I was asking the plants where the animal went, where the signs it left might be for me to find. I was being told where to go via plant communication. That is one of the cooler ones that to this day makes my brother, it pisses him off how much better I was at tracking than him back in the day. Still am technically. I've also used it when I personally was hunting or personally trying to find a good fishing hole. Where are the fish hiding? I've even used it to find specific plants for magical workings if I need a specific plant. I know it's in the local neighborhood. I love me some sassafras tea. I'm an Appalachian boy. I love me some sassafras tea. And I've absolutely used it to find some sassafras roots to make some sassafras tea. That's not really that cool. That's just, an example. But those would probably come to mind as some of the neater ones. And beneficials. What about coffee communication for protection now? What? Wait, I'm trying to. I mean, to communicate with coffee as the plant, it still needs to be rooted. Like if you get a bag of coffee, like if you order coffee and it's been roasted, it's usually not going to have a consciousness about it. But you could still use that for protection. Usually, if you want to speak with the plant, it needs to be alive and well to communicate with for protection. So, you know, there you go. Hope that helps. It's not to say you couldn't get a response. You could. It's just going to be really hard. It's going to make it much more difficult. And honestly, at that point, the dried plant should be used more as a component and an ingredient as opposed to an entity, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, spying with plants, like it's absolutely doable. Like I know several practitioners. They're landscaping. They communicate regularly with their landscaping, and they use like if they hear a noise outside or if their floodlight comes on or something, instead of checking a camera or anything, they reach out to the plants and ask what's in the yard. And the really cool thing is they do have security cameras, right? So not only can they reach out to the plants, get the answers, but then they can check the security camera and see how accurate it was. And I got several friends, like their accuracy is creepy. I actually got to see their journal and their log. So they will actually journal when they make the communication, and then you can see the log from when they made the entry into the journal as opposed to when they actually check the camera, right? And there's a gap in time there. But for an entire year, it was 100% accuracy. That is like some crazy accuracy in my mind. Like that is freaking amazing. And yeah, you all know I like an 80% accuracy. So that's like 20% above what I like. It's just like out there. So it's doable with practice. But yeah. So yeah. And that's one of the reasons like so many practitioners do like to actually make friends with the environment around them, right? I do it everywhere I go. Every time I move, I am speaking with and attuning to the environment around me, even right now where we're at. Um, the entire neighborhood, which expands a whole hell of a long area, um, I have spoken with the land spirits and the flora and the fauna spirits and whatnot across this whole area. So I know all of them well. It takes time to do this. This ain't something you can just, you know, do in a day. It's like building and cultivating any type of friendship. At the same time, the closer I get to my house is where I spend most of the time, to the point where what's actually on my property line here where I actually live, those are the spirits I know the best. The animals that hang out closest here are the ones I know best. Even when I meet, like let's say I meet a raven or a crow off property, I invite it back. I let it know where I live so it can come over if it so chooses. And, you know, the benefit of having that connection is eyes and ears around the area, right? And it's always been something I've very much enjoyed. Uh, and it's handy. In fact, we even have we had an owl here for the longest time. Lovely little bird. Absolutely adore the guy. Um, he's not here all the time. He's here a lot though. He is here a lot. And this year he's decided to bring a cohort with him. So now we have two owls hanging around, right? So now I'm getting to know the other one. But you know, anytime animals, like if there's an animal in my yard or around my house acting weird, I pay attention. Because if it's acting weird, considering I have befriended them, the weird activity is usually trying to get my attention. And find if I actually pay attention, I will see what's going on. And this has helped me a lot. It actually has helped me quite a bit to avoid several problems. Let's see. Angela. Welcome, Angela. Uh, always introduce myself to the land spirits, even if I'm staying in a motel for the night. I always talk to the house spirit and the spirit of the street light fire hydrant on the corner, as well as the lights and walk. Cool. Yeah, actually, anytime I travel, I do it too. Actually, a couple, 2 or 3 years ago, was it? Um, my wife's squadron had a holiday party, and it was actually on an Indian reservation. Um, I made a point to speak with the spirits on the reservation and everything. And knowing I was going to do this and knowing it was on the reservation, I also took some tobacco with me as an offering. Um, and yeah, I mean, I absolutely did. Now, interestingly enough, like you mentioned streetlights and fire hydrants. I don't really spend a lot of time speaking with hydrants and lights. I don't know. Um, and you're absolutely right. Hydrants and lights can absolutely have spirits the same way trees and plants can. Just like I've told people, people think cities are dead areas. They're not dead areas. They're freaking alive as hell. I maybe it's me and technology. I just don't take the time to think about it. But if I thought about it, I would. But then again, at the same time, when I'm talking to all the land spirits, obviously any those that's going to be in this area, they're going to fall into it too. So that's actually an interesting one. And ironically, I can think of one street light, Angela. I used to do this all the time. And I can think of one street light. Like that light never worked ever. However, anytime me and my wife went for a walk after sunset, anytime we got near it, it would turn on. It would only start working then. Um, and to this day, I'm convinced it's because, I did befriend the spirits in the area, and whatever spirit was in that light, it was thankful for it because at least somebody was paying attention to it. Somebody gave it the time of day. And because of that, it looked out for us. So, pretty cool. Now, granted, I did have friends that made the joke that the only reason it turned on is because I've been hit by lightning more than once, right? So, indirectly struck by lightning. But yes, so, hmm, let's see. Later, Matthias. Take it easy, mate. We're going to get ready. Yep, there's the clocks. Nathan, God, I missed those clocks. I appreciate it, mate. All right, final round of questions. If anybody's got them, real quick. If not, we'll get ready to wrap up here. If not, all right, we can get ready to wrap up here. So, again, if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble and you'd like to join us live so you can take part in the conversation over here in the chat, join us at the Working Dragon Mystic community at Mighty Networks. You will find the link below. You can access it via your computer or your phone. In fact, the phone app is so usable and user friendly, even this old redneck can use it, right? I usually cannot use an app to save my life. I have to do everything by computer. I can even manage to use the Mighty app. That's pretty good brownie points for it if I can do it. And the community will actually, back me up on that. I suck when it comes to technology. But we will be doing another one of these very soon, folks. I will make sure to try and get these posted 24 to 48 hours in advance. In fact, I may actually start posting. I may try to get them a few days in advance so you can all know and see it as early as possible so you can plan your schedules. But just note, we will be doing these on Mondays, right? So you'll be seeing more of us on Mondays. Okay, so make sure you make the time and set up and get ready for it. Let's see, anything else we got going? No, I think that's about it. I think that is it. Everybody finish up your beverages. Have a wonderful night. Get some rest. Tomorrow's Tuesday. We're almost